Hello, hello, and welcome to Keyboard. I am Tembi Duncan, and today I'm so excited to be talking with Dr. Giani Clarkson. He is an educator, an advocate, an amazing person. He's got so many projects going on. I need to tell you about him right now. Dr. Clarkson is a proud graduate of Dillard University and received his master's and doctorate from Concordia University. Dr. Clarkson is a chemist in the classroom, converting ungenerous personalities into individuals of great worth. Programs he has pioneered in District of Columbia public schools and public charter schools have boosted test scores across the district and helped guide students to college and beyond. His mantra is simple. Every child deserves a chance to build the blueprint for their dreams and make it a reality. This message is consistent with his teaching style, pushing the envelope of conventional thinking and providing lesson plans that are relevant and challenging, but as he says all the time, learning covered in fun. He has been recognized by numerous organizations for innovations in teaching and mentoring children in civic engagement, which includes community service and presenting policies to local government officials. Clarkson also mentors first-year teachers through various programs at local universities. He has served as an adjunct professor at Coppin State University and the University of Maryland. Due to his expertise in the field of education and numerous accomplishments, Dr. Clarkson is now a featured editorial writer for the Dallas Weekly and several other papers across the country. He has won multiple awards from iCivics for excellence in social studies teaching, 3 Teacher of the Year awards, and won the first ever Michelle Obama Award from the I Believe Project for excellence in teaching students about civic duties in connection to the importance of registering to vote. He has been selected as a Ford's Theater National Oratory Fellow for the past 10 years. The Oratory Fellows program gives teachers the opportunity to teach social advocacy through the power of oratory and history. Dr. Clarkson has presented on various occasions on behalf of Ford's Theater, discussing police brutality and gun violence. Dr. Clarkson has won Ford's Theater's Lincoln Lead Teacher Award for his work with youth and social activism. In addition, Dr. Clarkson has recently been named a Board of Trustee member at Ford's Theater. What is important is to empower students no matter where they are from, love them through adversity, and celebrate their success. That's what he says. Welcome, Dr. Clarkson.
Thank you so much. I laugh because there's a meme from The Simpsons where it has one of the characters like this with their hands over their face as they're into their bio. And it's like, it's such the weirdest thing to hear someone talk about the things that you've done because you just do these things. And you go, oh, yeah, I did do that. Oh, yeah, that did happen. And that's really
Oh, that too. Oh, I did win those awards.
yeah,
Oh,
those,
wow.
I did win those. And then you start going,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, it wasn't 3, it was 5 Teacher of the Year awards. I'm not counting. That sounds weird. Don't count. And it's all these it's all these weird things that go on in your mind when you hear your accomplishments. But thank you so much for reading them. And even at this advanced age, there are moments that I fall into imposter's disease. I don't believe
Mm,
I don't believe you're talking about me. And then I realize, yeah, that is me. So thank
that's
you so much.
right. You're welcome. And thank you for being here with me to have this conversation.
Appreciate
I'm
that. Thank you.
so just grateful and appreciative of the work that you do in the community and the representation that you bring, as a Black man
Appreciate it.
in
Thank you.
education. So powerful. Yes,
I'm
indeed.
I'm having a good time. That's all that matters
Yeah.
to me. I'm having a good time.
All right, so let's jump in. So tell us about your journey to become an educator. Did you always know that it was your path, or did you find your way to it?
Well, actually, I found my way to it and I became a willing hostage. So I have to explain this. Like, I was working at a nonprofit for a good while and enjoying the work I was having at a nonprofit. And my father kept on saying, you know what, you'd be a really good teacher. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do it. I saw what you went through, all that stress. I don't really think I want to be bothered with it. The nonprofit I was working for decided to go in a different direction. And of course, when that nonprofit decided to go in a different direction, I realized that my money was going to go in a different direction as well too.
Uh-oh. Down,
So away, not down,
away.
away. So it's going to go away. So with the
Hmm.
fact that I had money that was going away, I had a really great friend, really my best friend, and may he rest, who encouraged me to apply for a teaching job at the school that he was currently working at. I applied for a teaching job there. Um, the woman at DCPS looked at my resume and said, "Where do you want to teach?" And I said, "I want to teach at Kramer Middle School, which is in Southeast DC, down the street from Anacostia." And that woman said, "Oh, baby, you smart enough and your resume is good enough. You don't have to teach there." And that
Hmm.
right there was the moment
Wow.
where I said, I'm I'm in the right place because you're telling me that Black children don't deserve nice things. You've
Mm.
identified me as a nice thing and told me of all the places, why would you want to teach in Southeast DC? And from then on, I said, I know that I'm in the right place. And that's, from that moment from 2011 until now, I've been in the classroom teaching in urban education. And although private schools have politely knocked on my door and asked me would I like to come, there's no other place I'd rather be than working with children in urban areas.
So you said you were a willing hostage, right?
Yeah,
So
willing
you
hostage. Like don't like trust me. I did fight back for the longest, but eventually I put the duct tape around my own wrist and I went to work every day. And by me going to work every day, I realized that some of the most beautiful things are there inside of those neighborhoods, and unfortunately have never been watered properly because they've been told consistently you're not nice things. And I was fortunate enough to be around a brilliant group of educators and principals that spoke life into children. And these children are, doing great things now. Even now,
Mm.
looking into my the school that I'm currently at, it's the ability to tell children of color, you deserve nice things. And I don't, and it's a narrative is so disturbing because it's this narrative of that because you're Black, because you're brown, because your economic status is not where it needs to be, you don't deserve to have these nice things. You should have the worst teachers. You should have the worst resources. You shouldn't be able to go to plays and field trips. And I was like, I don't want to be a part of that narrative. And I'm glad to be around people that said that narrative is unacceptable and do something about it every day.
I'm glad you made that choice.
Yeah, I am too. I am too.
Yeah.
It has been it is hard work, but it is heart work. And because my heart is in it, even moments that are hard, I don't find it so difficult.
Have any of your students given you your flowers and sort of said,
You know what?
hey,
I have a garden of them. Like even after this interview, I'm going to a college signing day for one of my students who is going to Bowie State, and this is a young man that I've mentored since my freshman year, and since his freshman year, I should say. And in the midst of my career, I've been to weddings, I've been to baby showers, I've been to master's graduations, I've spoken at kids' graduations at their ceremonies. I mean, it is so many amazing flowers that have come my way to seeing children that I've worked with go to Harvard, to children I see that have been bold enough and brave enough to give their life to our country through military service. And, for that, we will never forget and we thank them so much for that. So I receive flowers from my students, but also the parents as well too. So I'm pleased. I'm very, very, very happy about all the things that have come this way. So and I've done a lot to only be 27 years old. No,
um, okay, I was about to say, well, that's some interesting math,
I
but
know that math is horrible. No, there's no
that,
way through.
yeah. Like Dr. Clarkson, you don't teach math, huh? I was
No,
okay.
just I teach dates and histories and policies and all the math. That math ain't
Uh-uh.
nowhere near right, right?
Uh-uh. But that's okay. You can be 27 for more than 1 year, I guess.
Hey, I'll take it.
Okay, so the work that you do reflects a deep investment in history and civic
Right,
engagement, right, and social advocacy. What drives your passion to these particular areas of focus? We joke like you don't teach math, but why
right.
why do you teach these subjects?
The beautiful miseducation that happens all the time. I've noticed that when students arrive to me, they have this ideology of what government is and what government is not, and being able to kind of really break down those myths and create a voting population of students that say voting is important. I should run for office. I do understand these policies and procedures that are affecting me in my day-to-day operations. I understand that there's a prison, a pipeline system. I know Alec is dangerous. I understand why Trayvon Martin is no longer here and why his murderer is allowed to walk around. And I know that that policy is bad. And therefore, now I have enough information to not give barbershop takes, but informed dialogue about what is what and why it is. You know, I told my students that I am so disinterested in your opinion if it's not laced in facts.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many opinions. When
Yeah.
I tell my students that because you all have this cell phone and this camera, it's a hot take factory. You just like it's like fast food. Everyone can make a hot take. I said, but be bold enough to really understand policy and procedures of why things the way they are, and then say, I don't like it, and therefore I'm going to change it because I know this is the problem. Don't tell me I don't think our city council does anything. Tell me what they should be doing. Tell me where this money should come from. And I have a statement that's in my classroom that says, I don't need a weatherman. I need an umbrella. Don't,
Mm.
don't,
Oh, that's profound.
yeah, don't tell me
Yeah.
don't tell me it's raining. I can see it's raining. Give me
Mm-hmm.
an umbrella. Give me a coat. Protect me from these elements of this world that make sure that black and brown people are going to be okay. And when you're able to do that, now you're really becoming the change agent that I want you to be and that your community needs you to be.
I love the way that you empower your students. I think for a lot of people, I wonder if they feel powerless, and so the sort of pointing out the rain alone is all they feel like they can do. And the fact that you give them these tools and say, no, you actually can do something about it. Don't believe that you don't have any power to address this.
I have a sign in my classroom that says it's a $5 charge for whining.
Uh, you don't want to hear it. You don't
Yeah,
want to hear it.
like, and don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I I need to vent sometimes. I need to say that this isn't not right. I feel like this is unjust. I want things to change. I need to be able to have a venting space. But if that's all the space is doing, then all we're doing is go ahead and serve the cheese because it's tons of wine. I'm not
Yeah.
interested. Like, I'm not interested in that. And I'm trying to make sure that my students don't become another culture or no, yeah, another basically generation of those that just whine about things. Like, stop whining, do something about it, identify the problem head on, and say that's why this isn't working. And now that I know why this isn't working, I know that I can now talk to my city council member. I can, if I can't talk to my city council member, I can then talk to my chief of staff and say, hey, this is what's happening in our community and it's not right. What are you doing about it? Oh, you don't want to do anything about it? Well, who's running for your seat? Because really, the when we talk about voting and voting attitudes, everyone that's passed probably say 50 plus, they're voting.
Hmm.
30, let's say 25 to maybe like right at that 50 line, they're just now somewhat falling into voting and they hit or miss on that voting. The voting kind of like, yeah, shrug your shoulders, really falls between 18 and 22 because you're like, those are somebody else's problems. They're not my problems. Until you realize that they are your problems, then you go, well, what should I do? I try to build a voting task force in my classroom that says, with kids that say, I can't wait to vote. And I'm going, good. That's what I want to hear. I can't wait to vote. I can't wait to vote. But that's also connected to my fraternity, who's national, one of our national programs. Is called A Voteless People is a Hopeless People. And it
Mm.
started back in the early 1900s about making sure that the African American voice was heard inside of political, landscapes, because oftentimes it was ignored, or, here we have with a poll tax, a literacy test, tax, a literacy test, a social studies, civics test. And it's like, no, 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 my voice counts. I am America. Give me this. Give me the notes. I have notes that will help contribute to the soundtrack of what we are, and stop trying to take my notes off of the soundtrack of America. So that's what I'm trying to build in my classroom.
Not, nothing too big, nothing
Nothing
too
too
major.
big. Nothing
Okay.
too big. Nothing too big. I'm trying. That's all I'm doing. Trying hard every day.
Well, I mean, you said you're a chemist in the classroom.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So that is actually a line from one of my favorite poems called House of Alpha, which is directly connected to the fraternity. And inside of that, it talks about the importance of being a chemist and that you're going to get things, you're going to get ingredients that are not always going to be favorable. How can you take those, maybe those favorable and unfavorable ingredients, and build this solution that solves all these problems? So for me, that's what I deem to be always in all situations, that I'm a chemist. Like, I don't want to ever be judged when things are easy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you really get the full measure of anyone's talent in, oh well, things were easy and then they're able to do it. Give me, yeah, and I'll call it, give me the worst of things, because that way I can really tell you how good I am at something. Or give me a challenging situation. And I have another sign that's in my classroom that says all problems welcomed.
Hmm.
Yeah, like, just give them to me. Like, really,
Yeah. Don't
really,
hold back.
yeah, because I think this is me, right? When we start to tell the story of somebody and we say, why is such and such great? We never start with, this situation was easy and they were successful. We say,
Mm-hmm.
this situation was difficult, and in spite all odds, that's how they achieve.
Right.
Like the Muhammad Ali story as an athlete is centered around the fact of, due to him standing against a war he didn't agree with, they took everything from him. Only for him, your average person, to say, you know what, you got me. For him to say, at this advanced age, I'm going to train and get back something that was taken from me. That's how we measure Ali's greatness. We don't measure him by somebody he knocked out that he was clearly more talented than. We measure him by that moment. That is the apex of greatness.
Connected to that, right? The things that we
Right,
have to overcome. Our identities often are tied into that. Not so
right,
much inherently, but in this society,
right, right, right,
we have this spectrum, right? Under this sort of white supremacy idea that the closer you are to whiteness, great, or sort of culturally
right,
white, right?
right,
Not necessarily racially. And then if you are black and brown, then you culturally often you're marginalized. I think with the exception of hip
right,
hop, which we can talk about as
right,
well,
right, right,
but
right.
that has its own sense of marginalization. But so
That part, right,
right, so that's a whole thing we could talk about.
right.
So but for you, the way you carry yourself and the way you present yourself, cultural representation is a really important part of your
Yes.
teaching practice, right? And you also encourage your students to embrace their cultural identities. Can you talk about how that it just is embedded in how you teach, and even you talked about where you choose to teach too.
Right. Like, this is going to sound really weird, but you cannot win any war when you're losing the battle against yourself. Like, you cannot fight anything this way if internally you have so many questions that you cannot answer. Because the first thing that, any enemy is going to point out is like, well, you don't even do that well. Well, you don't do this.
Mm,
You don't even know who
mhm,
you are. You don't even know why you're doing this. You know, anytime when I've coached a debate before, I've told students that you have to point out what is failing on that end and what are the problems you need to solve on this end. So I have the kids watch 8 Mile, oops, and have them watch the Eminem battle, the last one, where he
mhm.
says all the bad things about himself, and now the person that he's trying to battle against is stuck. If you already identify what your problems are and you understand what your growth areas are, you can't touch me. And I kind of
Yeah.
want to build students to say, this is what I'm good at. These are my growth areas. Because I'm not bad at anything. I'm just growing in that area. And that's part of your cultural, personal pride that I want students to have, inside of the classroom. And also, too, and not, I don't know who will listen to this. Hopefully, teachers listen to this. you cannot get the best out of your students until you create a safe space for students to make mistakes in.
Yeah.
Like, like
Yeah.
you're 13 through the ages of 18. You don't have, you got more questions and answers. The idea
Yeah.
is that by the time they're 18, they got more answers than questions, and that their questions have changed. They're more advanced questions. But if they have the same questions that they have as a freshman, as a senior, in the school community, you have failed them. We should make their questions more mature and give them the answers to the obvious things that they already know about themselves.
So, what do you see happening? That's your approach to teaching and
Sure.
working with your students. How do you reconcile that with the world around us? Do you, like, when you talk about creating a safe space,
Hmm.
how do you help them preserve that sense of safety within when they're not in your classroom? Or is that even a fair question to ask? Is it that, you know what I mean? Like,
It
can
really
you
takes,
do all of that?
well, I can't, but I can be a thought leader in how to make sure that school communities are always doing that. Children, see, and I've said this before, and I've laughed and said this before on on other interviews, is that when students say, Dr. Clarkson, you're my favorite class. I love your class. Your class is the only one that I like. Now, your average person will say, yeah, that's what's up. I'm killing the game. Me, I'm going, oh no. Because what you're saying to me is, I love you, but everyone else is trash.
Hmm.
And that's
Right.
and that doesn't really help our school community. It really doesn't. The best school community is when our kids can travel in safety and love and growth to each class, whether it be social studies, history, AP government, English, math, biology. There should always be a feeling of safety where kids can make mistakes. Now, mind you, these mistakes should always come with some sense of accountability, but kids should be comfortable in making mistakes. And due to the evolution of social media, I have seen kids take less chances in class. Like, I'll ask a question to something I know everyone knows, and then they'll all just look at each other. And I go, what are y'all doing? Well, we don't want to get it wrong. And I go, no, that's the fun of this space. You can get it wrong, and
Hmm.
it'll be okay. But they're so afraid of getting it wrong and it being posted and then they being chastised about it. And then of course the beat goes on and on and on and on. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's what school communities have to do. School communities have to be responsible in creating safe spaces no matter where kids go.
You mentioned social media,
Hmm.
technology in general.
Hmm.
How do you use technology generally in your teaching practice?
Well, I don't run from it. That's the first thing. I don't run from it. If you have cell phones, take your cell phones out. Go ahead and scan this QR code to make sure that you marked here for attendance. All right, what I've decided to do across the classroom today is a in-house scavenger hunt. There are a series of videos that you need to use your cell phone at. You scan the QR code, watch the video, and answer the questions on your cell phone. Look, this thing Steve Jobs created, this thing ain't going away. You know,
Right, right.
listen, we can do all we want to. We can say, well, we'll put it in a yonder pouch. Like, I was part of a school community where they want the kids to put their phone in a pouch and lock it, and then say, well, you can carry your phone all around you. You know what the kids would do? The kids would cut the lock
Oh,
and
and there
use
you
their phone,
go.
or they would fake close it. It's not going.
Oh,
It's not going away. So the
yeah.
thing is this: I don't want to fight you, technology. Come on in. Let me show you children how to use it more effectively. And I told the students, I said, you all live in a world of so much at your fingertip access information, but you all are some of the most uninformed children at the same time. How does that
Mm.
happen? I said, I'm from the generation of the encyclopedia man. He'd walk to your door.
Yeah.
He'd
Yeah.
fill these encyclopedias, these dictionaries, and you had to do it by letter. There was A, B, C, D, and so on and so on. So, like, you have walking information in your hand, but you don't use it. And then the teacher says, well, I don't want to use it because it distracts the kids. Let's stop this lie right now. Christ, let's stop this lie. If you as a trained professional, cannot beat the cell phone, get out the classroom. You can't teach.
Uh-oh.
You can't teach.
It's that simple, huh?
It's really that simple.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
the kids be on their cell phone. You telling me that each week you get a head start on kids that are 15, 16 years old, and you can't beat a cell phone? You the problem. I don't want to hear, well, we need a cell phone policy. No, we need a better you policy. We got to get you up out of here. Because my dad talks about this all the time. I remember my dad came to see me teach, and he said, I can't believe the foolishness that you're getting away with. He said, you can turn your back on your kids. See, my dad is from a generation where he didn't have YouTube. He had to
Right.
wheel
Right.
in a TV, plug
Yeah.
the TV in. And once again, you had to make sure you signed that TV out early. Because there's only one or two TVs in the entire school. In this new modern day classroom, everyone's got a projector, everyone's got surround sound, the kids have computers. And you telling me the problem is the technology as a teacher? No, no,
Hmm. Hmm.
you're the problem. Don't you dare open. Like I would be embarrassed as a doctor and be like, well, what's wrong with all your patients? Too much medicine.
Oh.
Too much medicine. I mean, every time I look around, it's just more and more medicine. What am I supposed to do? Like, like, like that's literally
Right,
how I
right.
feel when I hear a teacher complain about the amount about cell phones and technology in the classroom. Use it to your advantage. In fact, I don't want to give this website a plug because they're not paying you yet for this, but there's a
Not yet.
website, right?
Hmm.
There's an app that you can use where kids can hold up QR codes and it can be used to scan their answers to questions.
Oh, okay.
Let's sort of say, for example, all right, in what state did Plessy versus Ferguson happen? And the kids can turn the paper to either A side, B side, C side, D side, and you cannot copy it because every kid's QR code is unique depending on how you turn it.
Oh.
So if we have that level of technology in the classroom, your,
Hmm.
your cell phones can make iMovies. I can do cartoons at the drop of a hat. And you're
Yep.
telling me your problem is that there's too much technology? You got to get out the classroom.
Hmm.
You just gotta go. And the thing is this, even if you, and how about this? Let me be a little kinder in what I'm saying, because I may be coming across harsh. Let me, let me check my privilege. If you are someone who is not good at this,
Mm.
there are too many resources to help you become great at it. It
That's
just,
fair. That's fair. That's
you know,
fair.
it's the ice age is here, dinosaur. The coats are on sale. The ice age is here, dinosaurs. The coats are on sale.
Yeah.
They're on sale. You could literally go anywhere and get this technology or get this training.
Well, yeah, I mean, and to me, that aligns though. That tracks with what you said earlier about your students, right? Where you say,
Mhm.
hey, I don't want you to just identify a problem or point at something and say,
Right,
there it is. We can all see that that's what it is. What are you going to do about it? How are you
right,
going to find the tools, build the tools, work with me to develop the tools to address it so that we all have a better outcome? That sounds like the same thing. Like with educators, if you're an educator in a classroom and you realize, I don't, because maybe a part of it is, oh, the technology is distracting. Maybe that's code, right? For I'm overwhelmed by it or I don't understand it, you
right,
know?
right,
And rather than try to get help, it's about just rejecting it. When how can you reject technology? Like you said, you embrace it and have it come in. It's all in our lives so deeply.
right.
So yeah.
That year of COVID revealed who could not teach. That's a
Mm,
dirty little secret. That COVID year revealed who could not teach because you lost home field advantage. See, when the kids are in your classroom, the PlayStation and Xbox ain't there. The flat screen TV's not there. They can opt out. They can, turn off the screen. They can mute. You lost all your home field advantage. So therefore, we need to see how well you can actively teach. So for me, in my background, I said, man, I'm about to make my class a television show. I had opening credits. I had, what students will be learning today, guest
uh-huh.
stars, if I had a guest speaker that would come across the screen, and I had little sheets of paper. I had theme music. Kids were like, because I understood who am I fighting against. You got your Xbox, you got your PlayStation, you got your cell phone, you're battling
Netflix,
Netflix.
they can stream a movie or a TV
You're
show.
right. You're battling Wi-Fi issues. I said, you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I'm not going to lose. I'm because the same things that are my disadvantages are the things I'm going to flip to use in my favor. But that's
Mm-hmm.
also about being humble with yourself to say, and this is also too why bad teaching happens, is you suffer from this hubris of believing that you alone are so great and that people should listen to you talk. And I'm not. None of us are. you
Yeah,
know,
just because. Yeah. It's like
like
I'm me.
yeah, yeah,
Just
like
listen.
like there's a joke that says if Superman had to talk to people, you would really realize, man, he might not be that super of a man. If I had to see a person gain the attention of 1,000 people consistently for an hour, that's Superman. That's Superman to me. The flying, the laser vision, X-ray vision, blah, blah, blah. Talk. Stand on your 2 feet, talk, present, engage, give me a storyline, and let them people leave with something. That's why I feel like the educator has to evolve out this hubris of I'm so important. You're not. Tell a story, put something engaging there, put a video on there. Who's your guest speaker that you're going to have? What's the big project? How are kids going to work with their hands? I don't read so well. How do you reward me? I want to learn. I'm just how do you reward people who have learning disabilities and still want to learn? You
Mm-hmm.
got we just got to get smarter. We got to get smarter in that.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple other types of technology.
Sure.
So, virtual reality and
Hmm.
artificial intelligence, two
Yes.
very large categories, right?
Yes.
Um, how do you see those two types of technologies factoring into how we teach in the future?
I think they're really great things for, unfortunately, schools that may deal with financial issues using the VR function to visit museums. That's an easy way. Also, it makes sure that everyone is included. I've unfortunately been at certain school communities where they say, well, we can only take these many kids and we'll do it as a lottery. Well, here's the thing. What if my name don't never get picked in the lottery? I don't get to
Mm-hmm.
go because of a chance of fate. That sucks. So VR is a really great thing. When it comes to AI, I'm not afraid of AI like most teachers are because I understand how to manipulate it to my favor. I'm very clear in telling my students, hey, don't you AI a paper because after you AI a paper, the next letter is F. Because once again, I told the students, I said, math, I said the world is like basic algebra. What you do on one side is gonna happen on the other side. They'll give you AI. They gave me an AI checker. So be careful. You know?
Don't
So
let me see that you have used AI in
right,
this assignment.
right.
Yeah.
But also for on the teacher side, there are AI tools that help teachers today with lesson plans, writing tests, writing quizzes, doing unit plans. So, once again, it's a balance of it. Although Chat GPT and Magic School AI and all these really great programs can do these things, they can never take the place of the teacher, the presenter, and really, I would say the entertainer. Because those words can hit a paper, but if you don't understand how to teach to all levels of your students, then they're just words on a paper. It'd be the greatest plan in the world, and who cares? It would literally be writing the greatest song in the world and giving it to someone that can't read music. It'd be no good. And that's why I feel like the presenter or that presentation piece of what a good teacher makes is still very, very important.
Do you think that some educators' fear of technology is because of what you just talked about, that they don't realize that they too can use something like AI and chatbots and things like that for their lesson plans, like to automate things for
Yeah.
themselves?
Yeah, it's fear, it's ignorance. It's also being stubborn. You know, I wasn't interested in being stubborn. My interest is in being successful. Like that's all I care about. Like
Yeah.
what they giving us? It does what? Teach me. What does it do?
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
what makes us unique? Teach me. Give me that. Give me that. Like I remember, and I don't care because Kahoot has enough money, but Kahoot, when Kahoot hit the scene,
Yeah.
I was one of the first teachers using Kahoot, and the kids were out in the classroom losing their mind, and other teachers like, "What is this thing?" I'm going, "It's literally a virtual video game that the kids can play that you can use as a test review." Well, I don't like it. Well, then of course I'm showing them the data. Here's the problem: 80% of my kids scored an 80% or better on the test
After you use Kahoot as a
after I
test
use
review before
after I
the
use Kahoot.
test. So you're like,
So now,
mm-hmm.
are you going to argue about the ice age, or are you going to buy a coat? P.S. They're on sale. Like they're not going to call it like learning Kahoot, learning poll everywhere. Oh man, I'm giving too many plugs. Good grief.
No, keep going.
But
These are
all
great things because I'll link to them. No worries
but
about that.
all these really great resources that are
Mm-hmm.
inside the classroom, they're there. But you still have teachers that want to fight them and go, well, I don't want to. Why? You know, we are teaching a very unique population of children who have a variety of learning disabilities, and also are victims of educational neglect. I don't want to say this, but we're just gonna go to the bridge.
Yeah,
This might be your
let's
last.
do it.
This might be your last episode. I'm sorry,
That's okay. So we're gonna
but
go down in a fiery blaze of glory.
when I inherited a lot of kids from elementary school and various middle schools when I'm in high school, I realized that these kids have not been taught anything. And
Mm.
they live on a false pride of thinking that they're good students. So then I'm sitting up there looking at them, realizing they have these huge gaps in knowledge, and I'm literally looking like Deborah Cox. I'm like, how did you get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. I like this. So now
Because you need those gaps to be filled, right? Like before you can even start at your beginning, you have to
right,
figure out how to fill the gaps first,
right,
right?
right. So now I'm like I've probably overtold this story, but it's probably the best explanation of the gap. I was teaching my students state capitals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teaching them state capitals. And this little girl says, you know, I didn't know that New Carrollton was so big. Now, for those that are
Hmm.
not from this area and are probably listening to this podcast, let me tell you what New Carrollton is. New Carrollton is a town. I repeat, a
Mm-hmm.
town
Mm-hmm.
in Maryland. And this
Right.
little girl says that she sees New Carrollton on this map. So now I'm looking on this map like, where's New Carrollton on this map? And then I realized I had made a terrible mistake. I'd gave them a state initials map. So this little girl thought, yeah.
Oh,
So this little girl thought that New Carrollton was North
was
Carolina.
North Carolina.
But also
Wow.
I realized that's a gap that should have been closed in the fourth and fifth grade. That means someone didn't put you in front of a map and just
Mm-hmm.
show you states. They didn't show you states.
Right. Maybe you don't necessarily remember them all, like which one is which, but you
Right.
have a sense. You've seen
Know
it enough. Yeah.
in your area how far DC is from North Carolina.
Right, right.
Or my other story was I remember taking the kids to see the MLK Memorial in DC. And we're walking past the Washington Monument. And I say, kids, look to the right. And the kids are like, what? I'm going, look to the right, look to the right. And I go, what? And I literally have to line them all up and go, there's the White House. And the kids start screaming. The boys start crying. The girls start crying. Everybody's losing it. The kids are like, can I call my parents? And I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to figure out what's happening in this moment. And of course, as one guy, little boy gets on the phone and goes, you won't believe it. Today, Mr. Clarkson took us to the White House. I'm going, no, 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 no. I didn't take you to the White House. And I think the parents are crying on the phone, the kids are crying, and I'm going, wait a minute, you all are DC natives. That means you've never have seen the White House, and you're respectively 11, 12, 13 years old. How? But that's a gap.
Hmm.
It's an
They don't
elementary.
have, yeah, they don't have that sense of permanency of the like. That's interesting that you say that because I don't know if I think about that. Like if you talk about the White House, if they see it sort of come across their TV or their phone, right? But they've never actually
Correct.
been there. Like, how do they even know it's real? Do they think it may not be real or
They just don't. They just think it exists. They know it's in DC, but they don't.
somewhere in DC?
It's somewhere in DC. So bringing them that
Mm-hmm.
close freaked them out, and
Wow.
that happens a lot of times because of those gaps. So as an educator, your job is about, let me close these gaps and make sure that everything is going to be okay, because I have to pass off my inheritance to another teacher, and I want them to see that inheritance being gold. Like, man, you really taught them a lot of good stuff. Thank you, because now you've made my job easier. Like, that's how education works properly. Because we can, trust me, inside of school communities, we know who the bad teacher is. In fact, there are some teachers right now that are listening to this podcast going, man, next year I'm about to get Miss Such and Such kids or Mr. Such and Such kids, and I know them kids don't know nothing.
Mm,
And you know, and that means that you're going to start the school year in a negative hole, which means learning loss over the summer, plus the fact of learning that they never got.
hmm. In the first place, right?
Yep.
I like that you call it an inheritance. That's a really powerful way to put it. It
Yeah.
puts the onus and the responsibility on the educator. Say, hey, don't sell these kids short. Don't neglect them. Make sure that you
Right.
teach them what they need to know so that next teacher gets them in a way that they can carry things forward. Because all they're going to do is, like you said, negative, negative. They're just going to keep falling
Right.
behind. And then people are going to turn around and go, what's wrong with these kids? As
Right.
if it's all on them and there were no adults involved in the
Mm-hmm.
reason why the kids are struggling.
Yep. Everybody's
So,
gonna start hiding their hands and going, "Oh, it wasn't me." I'm like, yeah, it was. It was you. You know it was
yeah.
you.
Yep, you were right there and you could
You
have
was
done
right.
something and
You
you
was
didn't.
right there for 180 days, and you didn't teach these kids not a damn thing. Now I'm
Yep.
sitting up here looking crazy. Oh, I want to tell a story real quick because I
Go
recently.
ahead.
Oh, no, next time, let me say, and I say recently. At a time in my career, I
Okay.
I inherited some kids, and I realized that these kids were making sure that their teacher was getting Uber Eats, and that's how they were getting their grades.
I'm sorry. Let me just make sure I understand what you're
Oh,
telling me.
you understood. You just want to repeat it for our viewers.
I need no, I don't think I did because I don't believe I just heard that.
You did. You did.
What?
Yeah. Let me
Uber
tell you,
Eats for the teacher.
let me tell you something.
What
If
in the
you
world?
if you ask me to explain the problem of education,
Hmm.
I would tell you that it's a multitude of things. The big thing is funding. Two, it's the fact that over probably the past 3 or 4 years, over 80% of schools in America have operated in a teacher deficit. That means they've not
Mm,
been fully staffed. Okay.
hmm.
Three, the quality of teaching is not that great. And it's a gap. You have those that I think that are great and those that are cannot wait till spring break. And
Mm.
that gap is so glaring by how kids respond to certain teachers in various buildings. You can look inside of different school buildings and school communities, and you can see who's really out there teaching and who really is just like, I'm doing it because it's a hustle. You also see people that are of advanced age in their career that are just standing by the off ramp,
Hmm.
and that's the problem, where really it needs to be an issue of circling the wagons, making education a more attractive profession, because it is a very attractive profession, but it also is going to take leadership that's dynamic, and that's the other problem too. There's not a lot of dynamic leaders. Like the school communities that I've left has been due to very weak leadership that's not innovative. You got to be able to see the future. You got to be able to see around corners. You have to take risks and you have to be bold, because the dangers that are out there that are here to rob our children of their futures, they're bold. They're bold.
Yeah.
TikTok and IG and Twitter and all these social media platforms, they're bold. They have no problem and do not care about our kids' futures. You, as a leader, you got to be bold. You got to be willing to knuckle up and fight back. You just, ante up, like for real. Like you got to
Yeah.
endure.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And that says a lot about you that you tend to you want to gravitate toward stronger leaders because
Right,
you're a strong leader, and so you
right.
want to be in line with that innovation, that progressive approach.
Yeah,
So yeah, now you mentioned mentors earlier. You mentioned mentorship. Can you talk about that? I'd like to shift to talk about mentorship in your life, both as a mentor
right.
of young people and mentors that meant something to you. How did that shape your life?
When I first started teaching, and shout out to this guy, I had a mentor by name by Mr. Johnson. And Mr. Johnson was an older black man, and I still talk to him to this day. In fact, I'm proud to see him this upcoming Saturday. He grabbed me immediately and made sure that I was safe inside of communities. He said, I like everything that you're doing. He said, you are brave, you are bold. He was like, but I want to protect you from you. So every now and then he would tell me little things. He would say, hey, um, everybody's wearing the class shirt on Friday. You make sure you wear it. Okay. Hey, whenever you have young ladies in your room, don't do it. You bring her to another woman that's a teacher and tutor her there. You understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah, I got it. Hey, you were late twice this week. Okay. You too good to be late twice. Don't do that anymore. Okay. And that mentorship meant a lot to me because I didn't fight him. I just said, okay, because I realized that at his status, he didn't owe me nothing. He's highly accomplished. He's one of the most brilliant math teachers there are. He's a special education guru. He didn't know what any of that to me, but he said, I gotta protect this guy because he can be a star, but I need to make sure that he understands what he does. So when he was telling me to make sure I wore that shirt, he was saying, make sure people know you're a team player.
Yeah.
When he told me to make sure that my navigation of young ladies in my classroom, he said, I'm not accusing you of anything. I just don't want mad day to come. And I want everyone to see that you play this game face up. Don't be late. We get it. You're good. But don't have anyone think that you suffer from hubris because you know the rules of the laws of the game. You're better than the rules of the game. So you show up on time. In fact, you show up early. You can't afford to be late because you may deserve to be it, but if people see it, they're going to start thinking other things about you. That's what OG mentorship is, and I tend to give that, not tend to, I do give that because I realize that leadership is your ability to make another version of yourself, but better. You know, like don't when someone says I'm such a great leader, I go, well, who'd you make? And that's a difficult question. Man,
Yeah.
I'm a good leader. Cool. Who'd you make? Who'd you make? Who in here is better because of you?
Wow.
And people get mad at that question. Oh, well, no. You told me you were a leader,
Hmm.
and I want to believe you. Who'd you make? Who's better because of you? Because you can be a boss, and that's fine. But when you start using the L word, it requires a different level of humility. Mr. Johnson's conversation with me represented humility. Like even to another woman that I taught with my first year, Tanya Kabia. She gave me a list of Bloom's taxonomy words. And she said,
Mm.
your lesson plans are brilliant, but you need to put these words in here. And I looked at her and I went, okay. And to this day, I still have that sheet of paper. Has her original signature on it and everything.
And you
Because
still use it,
and
right?
I
Like
still
in
use
your
it.
lesson planning and
Even
everything.
even though I could clearly go on Al Gore's internet and Beyonce's internet and look up these words, I
Right.
still use that sheet of paper because
Hmm.
it's me going back at one. Students will be able to analyze. Students will be able to contrast and compare. Students will be able. It's right there. But
Yeah.
but that OG mentorship is that mentorship is very very important Unfortunately, the schoolhouse has gotten away from it. Some schoolhouses are too young, and they're way too young, and they all think because they read this book, TLC, they all think because they read this book, Think Like a Champion, that it turns them into amazing teachers, and it doesn't. It doesn't.
Hmm.
It's a great conceptual book, okay? But when you're in an urban area or in an urban schoolhouse, and this student has called you everything but a child of God, how you gonna think like a champion now?
Mm.
Where your OG? Because your OG tells you how to handle situations like that. Better yet,
Yeah.
if you have a really good OG, they make sure that them situations don't even really occur. We really have to rely back on older teachers, and I mean seasoned teachers, sure, that
Hmm.
things go a certain type of way, and it's okay but also too, our OGs have to understand that the tides of change and fall into this technology piece too. So there's two
Yeah.
things that's got to happen, right? There's two things that's got to happen, and also too, hey man, everybody ain't meant to be a principal. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Yeah,
It takes a certain set of skills, right? And a certain temperament and ability to be flexible and, like you said, be a visionary,
yeah. Like
be innovative. Yeah.
I once left a school community because I'm
That's
trying to
one way to
protect.
put it. That's
I'm
one way
trying to
to put
protect.
it.
I'm trying to protect my timeline here, and I realized that they didn't have it. They didn't have
Mm,
it.
hmm.
Nice person, just didn't have it. They just didn't have it, and I could tell whenever they got around people, their eyes glazed over, and I went, "Oh no, they've set you up to fail."
Hmm.
Um, and you may be a person that carries out orders, but there's nothing dynamic about you, and that's going to be a problem for you. And it's a problem for them now because
Wow.
strong teachers need dynamic leadership. If you're not going to be dynamic, they're going to always have problems. You're going to always have problems.
Well, okay, so a strong teacher such as yourself, you reach outside of the classroom. You write
Right?
for various publications.
Yes.
You have your own platforms where you share information about what you do.
Yeah.
You've made appearances in media over the years
Sure.
and interviews and things. This week,
Here on this wonderful platform.
here with
Right.
me. Thank you. Okay, who is your audience for your outside work, and how do you amplify your messages through these platforms?
So,
Like what's.
so there's two things that's happening. My audience is for teachers that are going through the same thing that I'm going through. It's also for first year teachers to realize, hey, you'll be okay. But it's also to give a peek into parents because a lot of times parents don't have a really a clue of what's happening with their children once they leave their house from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. They don't have an idea at all. And I think that what they're thinking is that teachers are making up these things about their child. My child don't do that. My child does this. My child, my baby, no, he don't do that at home. And it's like, you sure? You sure? But also to humanize this profession. And that's kind of the other angle that I teach from too. I didn't think my teachers were humans.
Hmm.
Like I didn't think they were real people. And I know that sounds weird, but
Oh no, like when you see them, like if you see them at the store or something,
right,
right? And you're like, what
what
are
are you
you doing
doing?
here?
You buy
Miss
groceries and you have
Smith.
a family
Right. And your clothes, why are you dressed
like
like
that.
that?
You're married. You have children. Like,
That's the worst, right? The children where it's like, "Oh,
oh God,
you have a child other than
someone
us?"
has to deal with you more. like I never like the teachers that I loved them because they were humans. Like I loved Miss McCormick. I loved Mr. Washington. I loved Mr. Hunt because I found them to be authentically human people. The teachers that I did not like, I didn't think they were human. They did some of the meanest things to us, and we hated them.
Mm.
We hated them because in our mind, as we're adolescents, we're going, you can't be a real person doing this really to kids. So we didn't like them. And, and so in turn, the thing that I think what connects me to my students is that they always say, Doc, you're like a real person. And I go, well, I am. They're like, no, 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 like I can see, like you could be in our family. And I go,
Mm.
oh, thanks. Because to me, that's the biggest compliment you can get from a kid. Not that I'm easy on them, because I'm definitely not easy on them. Lord knows I'm not easy on them. But it's also the compliment of you treat me fair. You dress in a way that I can identify with. You listen to the same music I listen to. And I know that this isn't a farce. This is really who you are. So like for me, when I was explaining to kids about certain things I listen to, they're like, "You listen to that?" I go, "Yeah," because good music is good music. And they're like, "You watch that?" Yeah, because a good show is a good show. So when all these things are happening, the kids start to, and then of course they're able to see you as a member of their family. And I always say that like good teaching or good school communities happen when teachers are able to be viewed as extended family. Because for many of our kids, we are their extended families. First year teachers, if you're listening to this podcast, you need to take your, I can't say ass. Can I say ass on here? You can't,
Yeah, go ahead, say
you
ask.
need to take your ass to some damn games. Like you need to take
Oh, like the
the
football and
football,
basketball
the
game, like the
basketball,
sports.
the cheer competition. You need
Yeah.
to go to those things. Don't what I call a starting line teacher, which means soon as the last kid leaves the building, you run into your car. And then you wonder why your class relationships, your interpersonal relationships are so bad in the classroom. You haven't built any relationship collateral. You've got to build collateral with these kids. They're from a different generation. I'm from a generation of do it or else. But also, right, I'm from a generation of
Yes. It's one thing, do
do it
it
or
or
else.
else. Yeah.
And no
Yeah.
one had to tell you what or else was. We had a very clear
Nope.
understanding what or else was. However,
Yep.
no fault to the kids. They're growing up in a generation where do it or else doesn't work because they're not a lot or they're not around a lot of trustworthy adults. So sometimes them questioning that or else is a defense mechanism. What do you mean? What do you mean do it or else? Why? Why am I doing this? I just I want to know. And if there's people think, well, they're just being defiant. No, 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 no. They're being cautious because they've seen something happen. Just tell them why. And if your why is good and you've built collateral, they'll do it. And then what winds up happening is this, at least in my travels, hey, I need y'all to do X, Y, and Z, one, two, and three. Yep. Well, how do they do it? They didn't even ask you why. I built collateral. They're going to do it because I've shown them to be human and I've shown them to be this. Another lesson for first year teachers. Y'all better apologize. Jesus Christ.
Mm.
There are so
Hmm.
many adults that have not apologized to kids for wrong stuff that they did. Y'all better apologize to these kids. It will,
Kids are human.
it will, it will,
They're people.
but also it humanizes you, right?
Hmm.
Because once again,
Yeah.
why their teachers out in life? They didn't apologize. They blatantly did something that was wrong. I remember growing up, we had a teacher that said that myself and six other students did not do their homework. Okay. And because of that, we couldn't go out for recess. Let me tell you something. Not allowing a kid out for recess is like dying a thousand deaths. Because it's not just the fact that you can't go outside, but you can hear the fun. Okay. Like
Yes.
it's,
The screaming, the laughing. Oh
and
yeah,
I mean,
you can see them running out by the
every
window.
every
Yep.
great thing that could have happened that day. The sun was out. Let's get the slip and slide out. Okay. Ah, is that an ice cream truck? Ah, is that another ice cream truck? I mean, it was back to back ice cream trucks, the slip and slide, kickball, and I'm sitting there at the window going, "I gave you my homework," and she's like, "I don't have it." Sure enough, there's 6 minutes left of recess. And I remember she says, "Oh, I got your homework right here. I misplaced it. Y'all can
Mm.
go outside now." Here's the thing, I didn't want to go outside for the last 6 minutes. Not because it was the last 6 minutes, it's just not what I wanted in that situation. I wanted an
Hmm.
apology. That's what I wanted. I wanted you to say, you know what? I'm so sorry, y'all. And ever after that moment for the rest of the school year, Gianni, what do you think? Do you have an answer for number six? No,
You held that one for the whole rest of
no.
the year.
Let me tell you something.
You knew you had the answer,
Did
but
I?
I'm not telling
Yes,
you.
yes.
I'm not telling
That
you.
last month of
You don't deserve it.
that last month of school, I was insufferable. I was
Mm,
insufferable to her. And I mean blatantly insufferable. We were all supposed to turn our homework into the little basket. I was like,
hmm
at the end of class, I stood there. I was like, made her open up her hand, and I put my homework in her hand for the rest of the year. I was
Because you
insufferable.
were like, let's be
I
clear.
was insufferable because, and once again, why was I acting that way? Because you didn't apologize. And I've always been that way. Because apologies humanize you. And people love humans. People love,
Well, and but also there's a matter of atonement. I feel like I hear
yeah,
too, right? Where it was like, why is it okay for her to say, all right, well, you can have 6 minutes of recess versus, you know what? I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and you all missed the back-to-back ice cream trucks and the slip and slide. So what I'm gonna do because I made a mistake is
right,
give you a special treat. Like, and not to mention, y'all, the whole rest of the class knows that y'all didn't go out on recess. So they're gonna come back in all, and just to even that out and say, you know what, class, I made a
mistake,
mistake. I had to pause. Like, it's not hard to do, but you're right in that a lot of times adults feel like if they were to do that, then they're ceding ground, that they're somehow being weak, right? And
right.
no, the kids are just gonna be Lord of Flies. They're gonna take over, and it's like,
We've got her.
no,
Like what did she
yeah,
think was gonna happen? We were gonna take like, pitchforks and light torches and be like, we finally got like
right.
all you had.
And never again will you have control of the class. But you were insufferable.
You're
So there, she lost you.
right.
She lost
And she
you.
lost
She
it.
could have
And I
apologized.
remember at the end of the year when I was leaving that school as a kid, she was like, "You don't like me very much." And I always wondered why. And I said, 6 minutes, 6 minutes of
Oh,
recess.
oh,
I was very deliberate in that. I think you could have bought her for a penny because of how hurt she was. But I knew exactly what I was saying. I knew exactly what I meant. And I did not apologize for that. So how did that change me as the adult teacher I am now, right? As a grown
mm-hmm,
up. At times I would catch myself doing something in class, right? So like
mm-hmm.
whenever I get really excited about teaching something, start speaking super, 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 super fast. And I go, I'm sorry, bad teacher, bad teacher. Let me slow down. Does anyone have any questions? And then the kids will go, oh yeah, I do have a question. Da 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 da. And it's now become a running joke in school communities that I've been in. Whenever I'm doing something, they go, bad teacher, bad teacher. I go, oh, what would I do? What would I do? And they go, well, you're speaking too fast, and we have a question right there. I'm like, all right, cool. What's your question? And literally, anytime there's turnaround day and kids impersonate impersonations of me, that always comes up. Like it's always some random hip hop reference, some random reference of this, and then they'll go, I did, they'll start taking me. Then the kids go, bad teacher, bad teacher. Oh, I'm sorry, bad teacher, bad teacher. What do I do? And the kid, but I'm happy that they're acknowledge um, that I can be a person that is imperfect, but I think they love the fact that I perfectly recognize what I don't do well, which is also
Mm-hmm.
goes back to being human. And that's
Yeah.
really, really what that classroom experience is about. It's like you gotta be human because here we go. This is gonna be interesting, right? The New York Times recently did an article that stated that most kids are being raised in non-traditional households inside of urban schools, right? Because of that,
Mm.
they're being raised by one parent, a grandparent, an aunt, a foster child. In fact, this is a scary data point. It is more likely for a child to have an incarcerated parent than to have asthma. I know.
Wow.
Yeah. So you as a teacher have to be the most steadfast thing in that child's life. You really hold the mantle of fair and honest and being willing to educate them. And every day you have to hold that mantle because if you miss on holding that mantle, it gets weird quickly. It gets weird very, very quickly. I have taught kids who are in what are called revolving door households, where as soon as one parent gets out, that parent goes in and another parent that was out comes in, and so on and
Mm,
so on the entire year. And then, you talk to kids about, well, what do you want for as a graduation gift? I would like for both of my parents to be out of jail at the same time to see me walk across the stage.
wow.
So these are the peculiars that you deal with in urban schools. So as a teacher, a kid is just looking for some fairness. Man, just give me some fairness, dog. Like for real. Like I've already felt like I've been dealt a bad hand. Just give me some fairness. Treat me nice. I deserve nice things because I'm alive. Give me nice things, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
where good. That's also another part of good teaching.
As another aspect of your good teaching is that you have a very robust long-term relationship with historic Ford's Theater. Can you tell us
Yay!
about that relationship and a little bit about Ford's Theater for people who, because as much as, full disclosure, I used to work for Ford's Theater, and whenever I bring it up in any sort of context, even with educators,
Right,
and I say, who knows what Ford's Theater is famous for? Like, does anybody know what
right,
happened there? And I'm always surprised at how few people
right,
know what happened, even educators.
right.
So, if you can tell us a little bit
So,
about the
so
significance of Ford's Theater.
Ford's Theater is a functioning theater that is inside of our nation's capital. It does four shows a year, but of course, historically is known as a place where Abraham Lincoln was assassinated at. This historical theater has now been converted to a major uh, international theater house that does four plays a year and also does some really great work inside of educational theater. In fact, doing one show which is called One Destiny, which is talks about the last actor on stage and the owner of the theater the night that Lincoln was assassinated. In addition to the great work that they do there, they also empower educators to study oratory, right? The history and just this practice of public speaking, which unfortunately inside of many school houses is lost. And it's sad because public speaking is a skill that never goes away. But Ford is able to infuse, of course, this idea of public speaking through teaching, oratory, like the oratory triangles, speaking points, warm and cold feedback, having students study historical speeches and their significance, and also empower students to write their very own speeches as well too. I've been a Ford Theater Fellow for good grief over 10 years. And over the past 2 years, I now serve on the board of trustees at Ford's Theater, which is really great because um, this allows me to be in the room where it happens and be able to help with Ford's vision as far as how it connects with educators. For those of us that are in the nation's capital, Ford allows us to bring our students to see three plays a year for free, paying for the bus and tickets. And for many students who don't really have a relationship with the theater, think that the theater is not for them due to racial or financial reasons, it allows them to come into a place that would necessarily not be on their radar. I'm proud to say that every time that I've brought kids to Ford's, it in turn has made a theater major out of them. And that makes me very, very happy because kids don't see that as a profession. I remember one young lady who is now graduating this year. She said, "Is this people do this for a living?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "This is actually what I went to school for." And she says, "What? I can do this?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, this I now know what I want to major in school," and that made me so happy to hear. So, Ford's does amazing work every day. If you are in the DC area, I encourage you to go visit Ford's and take full advantage of all the great resources that they have, not just during the school year, but over the summer as well too.
Can you talk about what it means to be an educator and to make a decision to seek outside opportunity, right? Because of course you all have to have continuing
Right.
education credits and you have to get professional development, but doing something where you become a history fellow, that's a different approach to your continuing education? Why did you choose to do that for
Because
yourself?
I feel like you should be consistently working on yourself. As an educator, you should be doing something better to improve your craft each year. Like I think about like an athlete. In the off season, they think about what were their weaknesses and they go and they lift weights or run plays to focus on that weakness. If you're an educator and you're not doing something each year to better your craft, you are you're stunting your growth. And once again, it's not like these things are expensive. They're basically little to no cost or free. So professional development, and it's gonna be our last show. Anyway, professional development is actually inside of schools the worst I've seen it in a very long time. It's not really professional development, to be honest with you. Like, let's take this up. Development means that I'm teaching you a skill. Very rarely do I go to professional development and the skill is being taught. They're really just more so meetings where you're reviewing data, and inside this data, you're coming up with a plan. That really isn't professional development. There was only one school community where I felt like that mastered professional development. We had speakers come in, they brought in new technology that we learned to help better our craft. They brought in different I guess I would say psychologists to help us understand how kids are thinking. We had someone do a social SEL, social emotional learning training to make sure that we understand. That's development. That's development. Me going from room to room to hear different adults that I work with every day speak is not professional development. That's a lie. Maury says it's a lie. It's a lie. We gotta get out of
Yeah, you're not coming out of it with a new skill, with a new resource, with something you can get excited about
correct.
applying to
Correct.
your classroom. Because I feel like it also makes you might feel like, okay, I have a rhythm. I've been doing things the same way. I want to spice it up. Like, how can I make it more fun for me? So
Correct.
I feel like it can do that too, right?
Correct. That's what you really want. You really want professional development that is rooted in making sure that teachers are getting better at their craft by giving them a new skill. Give me a new skill. Like, are you doing X? You doing Y? Do it. Okay, new skill. Okay, now we're going to build on that skill, give you a new skill. If you're not doing those things, that's not professional development. What you're doing is you're having an all school meeting, and you should call it that. Say, we're having a data review. That's more honest than saying we got professional development. That's not professional development. That's not professional
Hmm.
development. And once again, data reviews are important. Those are important. You
Sure.
need to know
Sure.
how your kids are progressing on standardized tests and absentees, grades, number of referrals. Those things are important, but that ain't professional development. That ain't professional
Right.
development.
So you're not coming out of that with a new skill.
No. Development. So I'll
Hmm.
give you a great example. And I'll shout this person out. Shout out to Kwame Simmons, who is a brilliant educator, my brother in education, brilliant thought leader. When he was at Kramer, he would bring in guest speakers to have us look and analyze various educational technology. One of them was called like Atomic Rocket, which was a program where if there was something that you want to learn, you would literally type it in a search engine and it would show you how to do it. That's how I learned iMovie, believe it or not. How to learn
Okay.
iMovie, how to do there was a one educational platform called Socrative at this time. And Socrative was the early version of Kahoot. That's how I was
Okay.
introduced to Kahoot at an early age. That's how I was introduced to Poll Everywhere. That's how I was introduced to creating thought bubbles for students. That's how I was introduced to building out Socratic seminars. That's development. So I was getting tools, every professional development to become better. So like the version of me that exists right now didn't happen overnight. It happened because someone was wise enough to go, man, I don't want to do data reviews. These guys, if I'm going to have the best school in DC, these guys got to get better. I need to give them skills. And that's what he did. He literally went out of his way to make sure that we had skills. And right now, I don't know if principals are failing to understand that. Like stop calling it professional development. It's bad. It's not, and honestly too, that's the reason why a lot of teachers hate professional development. Like if you ain't go around, because in fact,
Yes.
I'll tell you,
Teachers hate it. They're like, oh
a
God, just
professional development because they're not it's
just dread it.
because it's very fair. It's very few times it's professional, and very few times if you're being developed. So
Yeah, it makes sense. I
it's
mean,
false advertising.
you can't fault them for that. Yeah.
I've jokingly have called professional development pure depression because
Oh no.
because because
That's how you feel.
it's like and you
Yeah.
could tell. Oh, I was in the school community. Can the title of this be called "I was in the school community"? Anyway,
Oh yeah.
I was in the school.
Yeah.
I was in the school community, and I often felt that my principals and educational leaders had too much Black Baptist pastor on Easter Sunday. They would get us all in the gym and they would just get the rambling and talking. And I'm looking around going, when's the professional development going to start? Because I mean, brevity had no place. They was just rambling and talking. And I mean, they was smiling. And in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm killing it out here. Meanwhile, let me tell you something. I was crushing so much candy. I was a I
Oh,
was a candy.
you're on your phone like the kids.
Oh,
Like, let me
listen,
just
I was a candy crush
entertain
fool.
myself.
And then this is
Yeah.
also too. Let me this caused a really great recall, right? Because then they would say, well, we're low tech, and everyone needs to put their cell phones up. And I said, and that's the problem. That's the problem right there.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
You don't understand engagement. You're standing in front of us, telling us to put our cell phones up as an educator, when the truth of the matter is, you need to be more engaging as a presenter.
Back to what you said
Back to
before.
what I said
If you
before.
can't beat the phones.
If you cannot beat the phone, you
Yeah.
should not
Yeah.
stand up. You
Yeah.
should not be standing in front. Well, I'm standing in front of people because I'm the boss, I'm the leader. Okay.
Right, right.
Let me crush this candy.
Oh, that's it's interesting. I mean, like you said, being you can be a boss, but it takes something else to be a leader. And you are definitely a leader. And I want to talk about another aspect of your leadership, one of the
Oh,
many.
geez.
Which is so you're a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity
Yes,
Incorporated.
the pride of our
It's one of
hearts. I'm sorry.
that's it. Is that? Yeah. Hey, listen. It's one of the Divine Nine
Correct.
historically Black Greek letter
Correct.
organizations for our listeners. What does that brotherhood mean to you, and how does it influence your personal and your professional life? I know that it does.
It does. And what it does is it's a call to responsibility and a call to protection. Um, what and let me say this too, because I think I can speak for all Divine Nine organizations, right? All Divine Nine organizations are about a call to responsibility and protection of the Black community. All of these beautiful nine love stories inside of Black history are written as an oath to how we are all going to collectively protect the culture through education, through economic development, through political power, and at all times protecting the things that are inherently ours, right? Because of that, I am very deliberate in how I present myself as a Black man in front of children and also to my community. Now, let me get this out the way. This does not mean that I am perfect. This is literally the mantra of the conversation I have with my son all the time. I said, I want you to love me because I'm not perfect. Love me because I'm a saint. Love me because I'm going to honestly try to do the best thing every day. I'm going to fail, but I'm going to honestly give you a best effort every day. I think that's what part of being a part of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is. And any Divine Nine organization is giving your best every day to people who are not necessarily in the best of situations. We are very cognizant that there are tons of disenfranchised people across this country, and they're disenfranchised due to education. They don't feel like they have a political voice. They feel like they don't have enough money to enter most rooms. And how does Alpha really reset that table for them? We do it through a lot of various unique things, through leadership development, through scholarship that we provide for students, by finding turnaround services for homeless and displaced citizens. And it's not just doing it during Christmas time, because Jesus, let me get off this soapbox right here. If you only see homeless and displaced people during Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'd rather you not see them at all, because it's disingenuous and you're in the way. I'm just going to put that out there. But we have a lot of really great ways to empower those that have fallen on hard times. And that's really, to me, what I feel like the brand is about. And all the various brands inside of the Divine Nine is really protecting protecting the diaspora. It really is about that.
So now I want to know, what you have coming up. Like what kind of really interesting projects that you have going on, because you always have some great projects happening.
So I'm going to continue my work with RAP, which of course I love. RAP is an international marketing agency where I've been kind of their historian um, in-house to help them really look at the various ways of smart marketing while being historically relevant, but not historically irresponsible. And that's what I really love about RAP, is that they're bold enough to understand what that does. The president of RAP, John, is a very smart guy, along with, there's a lot of shout outs here, Nicole, Devin, and of course, my childhood friend, Carla, to be able to look at this in do different prisms and make sure that when I'm looking at something, is there equal voice, equal say in everything that I'm doing? We don't need any more Pepsi Kardashian commercials. We're in the midst of a riot. This woman walks up to a police officer and hands them a Pepsi can, and the riot is magically over. We don't need that.
No,
There's so many
no,
ways
we
I could
don't.
go with that, but I'm going to leave that right there. I told you, next time you invite me, we're going to get canceled. No, I'm messing with you. I'm joking. But no,
No, look, I'm sure we can talk about whatever. That's what we're here
no, but
for,
like
you know?
that to me is what it should be about, is being able to do that through rap. And then of course I am currently working on a book that I'm writing. I'm very, very excited about this book. It just kind of explains everything that I've dealt with inside of my educational life and times and policies.
So is it a memoir?
Um,
Can you say or no?
no, no,
What can
I'll
you
tell you what it
tell
is.
us?
If you've ever had adult beverages with me, it is like a long conversation.
Conversation with you.
And it
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a huge argument that I have with myself in regards to, am I doing enough? Have I failed? Uh, this is the reason why it is failing. Let me tell you the reason why. Let me tell you the obstacles that I'm overcome that I'm dealing with. But over at the end of the thing, that there's hope, and that's the main thing. There is going to always be hope. That though I'm going to open up this Pandora's box in front of you, that you will always feel at the end of it, there's hope. And next time I see a teacher, I will offer them grace and I will tell them thank you, because I know that you're doing a job that is asking you to use money from your paycheck to make your job a lot easier. And that's also something I discuss in the book too, is that the reason why, if you look at most teachers, they have this face in May that goes, that distraught face. In fact, Saturday Night Live just did a really good skit on it. It's because we are in turn a community turnaround service. I've been in school communities where people have come to the school to get their electricity, their utility bills paid, their clothes washed, food, money, eye care, medical care. I mean, hell, I've been in school communities where the school, to protect the parents from certain embarrassments, have paid for Christmas gifts for children, and the children
Wow.
were none the wiser. So when you think about all that being on the shoulders of a child, of a teacher, and I didn't even say nothing
Hmm.
about grading papers, lesson plans, teaching, which is in the job,
Yeah, that part.
right?
That part.
We haven't even
Hmm.
gotten to that part yet. So you're literally seeing why teachers are so worn out. You see why people run out of the profession. They're like, I can't do it. I cannot do this. I, I'm giving so much of myself and I don't feel rewarded. I don't feel loved. So yeah, that's why it's all there.
I'm looking forward to when your book comes out. Do you have a date when it comes out, or you're still in the?
Oh, I'm definitely looking for the end of this summer. It plans to be a really good time. Teach, Pray, Drink is going to be hilarious.
Is that the official
That's
title?
that
Teach, pray,
that
drink.
is
I love
that is
that.
actually one of the there's a subtitle as well there. But Teach, Pray, Drink is going to be a really fun time. It's a that's really what it's about. Is about how teachers go to happy hours and they swap stories. And it's like for me watching Abbott Elementary and shout out Quinta for her being so brilliant, but like Abbott Elementary is such a difficult watch for most teachers
Yeah,
because it's laughing, but it's also laughing at a lot of trauma.
yeah.
Like it's like
Real things that are happening.
my goodness,
Yeah.
that's my life. But no, and it's like while the
Hmm.
rest of the world is like, oh, Abbott Elementary is so funny. I have some friends in the teaching profession like I can't watch it. It's too triggering.
Wow.
Like for me, oh God, ugh. I was once part of a school community where my principal acted just like Ava, and yeah,
No, so she's real. I
Ava's
was feel like she's so
no,
extreme.
no. I taught in a school community that had an Ava, and she was the bane of my existence. And I
Wow.
remember, unfortunately, she was really sick for a month, and like literally, the clouds moved over the school, and this ray of sun came down, and the school functioned so well. The
Without her.
Without her. In fact, DCPS did not know we were functioning without a principal for a month. Our suspensions disappeared, our grades were better, everything was great. And the day that she came in and clopped back in with them heels on,
I can hear the sound in my mind right
I
now.
could literally, I remember because it was a Monday and like she came back without warning. And she was like, "What? Why are these bulletin boards done? These bulletin boards didn't get approved by me." And she just started taking the bulletin boards down, like Tasmanian devil. Oh, why are the kids lined up over here? That's not where they're supposed to line up. They're supposed to line over here. And I mean, literally, she invited the chaos. She was she
Wow.
invited the chaos. So that's why I always laugh because and I forget the actor's name because she's one of my favorite. Janelle James. Janelle James is a brilliant, brilliant comedian, and she plays the hell out that role. But man, Ava's a real thing. Ava's a real. It's a real thing, and it
That's surprising and sad, because I really felt like, okay, obviously with dramatic writing, and you're creating something, you're going to go to an extreme for the humor and everything, but nobody's really like that. Sure, there's people who probably are somewhat like that, but to hear you say like that she really was a negative force in the
I
school.
have taught with every single character on Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
I have a Janine. I have every Mr. Jane. I have the Jan. I have everybody. I've taught with every
Who
single.
are you? Who are you?
I am.
Are you any of those folks? Or like have you been? Maybe you're different
I have
people.
definitely been Janine. I've definitely been Janine. And I think we all are Janine. And then I've transitioned into Shirley Ralph's character. But I am a
Hmm.
little bit more accepting into technology than her character is. But I
Okay, yeah,
think,
because she is not.
right. I think we all have been that at one time or another. The thing is that you don't want to be, no, you don't want to be Ava. You never want to be Ava, but you definitely,
Hmm.
because what I love about how that show is written is that it's an arc of the professions of the stages in the seasons of your life. You are a first year, you're walking in and you're understanding, but and all the storylines I've identified with people. I have colleagues that have said my parents don't want me to teach anymore. They don't want me doing this. They think it's dumb. I've heard it all.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard it all. I've literally have heard it all.
Well, I'll be looking out for Teach, Pray, Drink.
Teach, pray, drink.
Yes, very soon. And
Absolutely.
I just have to say, Dr. Clarkson, it has been such a pleasure to kiki with you
I'm
today and
humbled.
chat and laugh
Thank you so
and
much.
oh my gosh, we covered a lot of ground. We didn't cover all the possible ground. That would have taken 3 or 4 more hours, but I'm really
That's
glad with
fine.
what
You
we were
you
able
have
to
me
talk
on you
about.
have me on a retainer, and you cash at me some money. By the way, if
I
she's
got
if
you.
she tells me if she tells y'all who are interviewing for this that on her show that she doesn't pay you, she pays really well. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Don't.
See, edit, just cut that
Oh
right on out.
no,
I'll
it's
put
gonna.
what's the timestamp?
Oh no, that's getting edited.
No, I'm gonna leave it in.
Don't leave
Just
it in. That's be fun.
because, yep. People were like, wait a second. Yeah.
I'm
No, this
humbled.
was great.
Thank you so much. Truly humble.
Oh, such a pleasure. So later on down the line, we'll check back in and see how you're doing.
All
Okay.
right, sounds good. I can't wait to come back.
All right. Till then,
See
till
you.
next
All
time.
right, bye bye.
Keybard is produced, directed, and hosted by Tim B. Duncan. Theme music by Psycho Sid. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe or follow and leave us a review or give us a rating. Your support helps Keybard reach more listeners, and it means the world to us. Episodes drop every Tuesday. Tell a friend, tell your mama now.